everyone, welcome back to another edition of my videos, and today I wanted to show you another of my correspondence games in the daily 2021 chess championships. And I had a really nice game here. This is the first time I've ever played the Najdorf Sicilian, the first ever win I've had in the Najdorf Sicilian. It was quite a joy to have it, as there was a very, very nice position that I got myself into very early on. So the game started. I was playing as black with e4, c5, knight f3, d6, and then h3 was played here. So this is probably the first surprise of the match. This innocent looking h3. I've actually never seen this move before. I have no idea about it, but it's actually been played 54 times. If we go a little bit further into the game, we actually have a transposition back to its main line, and we can probably understand this move a little bit better in just a minute. So knight to f6, knight to c3, a6. I just thought I'll get on with maybe start expanding on the queen's side. And here d4 was played. So we have our transposition after c takes d4 and knight takes d4. So we've actually reached the Adams attack, and you might think to yourself, well, what's the whole point of this? Are we just deterring black from putting his bishop to g4? Well, in actual fact, it's basically a preparatorial move. Essentially, white is looking to get g4 in, and after which, once g4 can come in, then black will look to maybe play g5. And it's a really annoying, a little bit quite frustrating move for black, because then he has to think about, what do I do with this knight? Because once he moves this knight away from the centre, this actually in fact loosens his grip on the d5 square, which is a hole in my position, due to the fact that after, normally in the Najdorf you want to play a move like e5 to take over the centre, you create this backwards pawn hole on d5. So in any case, let's go through. So I play e5 here. So yeah, when you're playing against flank moves, you've got to counter in the centre. And of course, I play this, which is really good, but the trade-off of it is obviously I now have this hole on d5. So this is a very thematic hole. This is the common weakness within the Najdorf Sicilian, this hole. So the knight came back to f3. In actual fact, the main line goes like this, which is a bit surprising. I don't know all the ideas to this, but it's quite an interesting idea. Why we're playing like this is eventually this knight is going to come to c3 after this knight jumps into d5. So that's the idea, and you get this nice clamp on the d5. Now, the main line, in fact, is very interesting here. And I'm just sort of learning some new stuff here. h5 is the main line. And you might be thinking to yourself, what the heck is going on here? Why are we playing h5? Well, essentially black, in trying to counter this, they're actually so scared of this g4 push because of the loosening of the centre. They actually just simply prevent it altogether. So just to give you an idea, let's just give you a flavour. If, let's say, we do b5 instead, which looks quite thematic in the Najdorf, g4, white's attack on the king side starts to look a little bit scary, albeit, black does have his own counter thrusts here as well. So there is that trade-off. I'll just show you an example line that I was looking at. So the bishop's come into these diagonals. This is the other point about g4. The bishop can come to this lovely g2 square. And after b4, the knight jumps in. Anyway, white has got a nice expansion on the king side. It's actually not a bad position at all for white at all. I think this is quite good for him. He's got a lovely clamp on these squares now. So, any case, that wasn't played. So that's not a particularly favourable line for black. h5 is the main line, just simply preventing this g4 altogether. The problem with playing h5, though, is it does give up the g5 square. So bishop can come here, which will look to, is basically a secondary plan to exchange off this bishop, get rid of it, and then take over this d5 square. So I'll just show you some lines I was looking at. Bishop to e6, getting ready for that. There's then this exchange, knight to d5. Black would love to capture, but obviously this white pawn is just going to be disastrous on this square, really clamping down on this d6 pawn. So, you know, queen comes back to d8. Then this is the whole idea of that early knight maneuver here, is so it can come to this square. And now this clamp on d5 starts to look quite interesting. So I'll just continue the main line here. g6, bishop comes to c4. Black, funny enough, has scored very well on this line, but I would argue here white's control of d5 is just really strong. It's going to be very difficult for black to fight against this variation, since you're basically getting squashed in space here a little bit, and white is taking full advantage of this d6 weakness. Okay, so let's go back then. So as I say, in the actual game, knight to f3, which was a little bit not the best move, but it's still okay. It's still in the centre. Bishop came to e7, bishop to c4, and yeah, there's not many games in this position. I think there's only 3 games. Of the 3 games, the most popular move was bishop to e6, which I thought would play, and I quite like this idea. So this has the idea of after the exchange, which does happen. I now have this this cluster of pawns, and it looks a bit weird having these double pawns here like this. Like, surely this is just bad for black. In actual reality, you know, these double pawn structures, it allows me to hopefully push forward now this d pawn, so I've got a supporter, and not only that, there's no longer this weakness of this knight jumping into this d5 square, which is always a bit of a problem in a Najdorf. So I quite like the look of this. Later on I can push d5, I get a big centre, and I've essentially got 2 central pawns. So in an endgame, I'm doing very, very well. And these 2 central pawns connected as well are going to be an absolute menace to stop in the endgame. So bishop to g5 was played. I castled, queen to d2, and then I put my knight b to d7. I just wanted to put an extra defender onto my knight. And here my opponent castled long. And it's funny because my computer really didn't like this move, and I fully expected this move as well. I think it's very thematic in a Najdorf opening to play like this. White has to go all guns blazing, all out attacks, both players beating each other up. So I was very surprised to see that this move was actually an inaccuracy. It actually just prefers castling short here in this variation. I guess white is by no means bad here. He's just going to, you know, restrict black's centre as best he can and hopefully have an okay position. So in any case, by playing castles here, this does allow me to play b5, and I guess I am probably winning here. I think white's attack is a little bit slower than black's attack here. You know, by playing this bishop here, white hasn't got this immediate threats for a little bit of time anyway. He's got to maybe exchange off his bishop, which, of course, if you're an attacker, you don't particularly want to start swapping off loads of pieces. You know, it's going to make it harder for you to... It's easier to defend when there's less pieces on the board, basically. So, in any case, b5, I get on my attack. a3, very happy to see this. I now have a pawn lever that I can now go after. So this b4 move comes with a bit of added poison to it. And here I play queen to a5. The computer hated this move. It says actually it's a missed win, which I was a bit surprised about. Because I thought this looks really good. You know, I'm just going to be forcing through b4. What's the big problem here? Well, I guess if I was kind of, you know, switching on the engine here, there is a key defensive move here. King to b, oops, not this move, king to b1. So really, really nice move. It's a really good defensive move. I've actually now going to have to waste tempo to realign my queen. My queen's a little bit misplaced over here now. So I'd have to, this idea doesn't really work if I try and go for it. White has, good ways to maybe exchange off some of my pieces, slow down my attack, and then maybe get on with his own attack. So it's an idea here. I think I was looking at this move is pretty strong, taking advantage of the fact that he can't capture this because his queen is hanging. So if after this move there's a nice Zwischenzug move here that I had to be very careful of, so something like this, And white's doing well. I think. Affects. Yeah, white's doing extremely well. Knight takes here is even better. That's saying on here. So to each their own. White has equalised his material. Okay, I'm going to take back this knight in a moment, but by no means white is not worse here in this position. So going back, so I guess that's the problem, and I think it's interesting if that was played, I probably would have still gone for that, or maybe put my rook behind him potentially. So just some interesting ideas. It's weird in the Najdorf. Najdorf is all about tempo. You've got to, when I was looking at some preliminary games before sort of playing this, white has to get on with his attack, but black also has to get on with his attack. If you waste a tempo, you're just going to get an inferior position. So any point where I was ahead probably one or two tempos there by playing b5, but now I've played this queen to a5, but I've just probably lost one or two of those tempos, and it's just gone straight back to an equal position. So you've got to be really, really careful. So yeah, as I say, queen to b1, that's the idea of just to sort of show you those lines. If let's say the king comes to b1 here, by no means is my queen misplaced here at all. In fact, I can now start playing a5, then push here. It's a little bit of a safer manoeuvring way instead of put my queen there first. So in any case, let's have a look at what actually happened in the game. So after I played my queen to a5, my opponent made quite a big blunder here, and I was a little bit confused at it at the time. He played knight to h4. I'm not too sure what he was planning here. I don't even know where this knight's going to go to. There's not really any scope. There's not really any good squares it can go to. But the problem with this move is it's very loosening. We're now decentralized this knight. It's now potentially going to be a hanging piece at the moment. And I just don't understand the idea at all to it, if I'm being honest with you. So here I play b4. I thought I'd get on with my attack. And this had a little combination here involved with this particular thing. So I noticed that this knight is defending this e4 pawns. If I could find a way to decentralize this knight, I can then take this pawn with an attack on the queen. He has no time to take this bishop because obviously I'm attacking the queen, and I'm just going to be up a pawn. I've then got three potential passes in the centre and probably a very good position. But not only that, when the knight captures here, I'm then threatening to take the bishop and that's going to create this skewer. So there was a really, really nice combination here that followed. So after a takes b4, I then threw in a check, only move knight to b1, and now I took here on e4. The bishop took on here. I guess he had nothing better he could possibly do here. If he tries to move this queen out of the way, let's say he comes to, I don't know, like d3 for example, this is just terrible for black. I'm going to be checking. This comes with a check, hitting the king. Not only that, there's all kinds of threats that he has to be ready for. In actual fact, it's saying here that white needs to, he has to sacrifice a piece just to stop the check, actually. So it just looks horrible for him. So, for example, if let's say he put his rook here, bishop takes, even at this point, this is how horrible white's position is. He has to take the queen. If he moves his king, then, well, this is just awful. In actual fact, this is now a mate. Very, very nice. Just showing the coordination of all my pieces. So I was very happy with this. So anyway, so he captures with the bishop. So I think that's probably the best continuation here. I took the queen. I think why not? Rook takes back, and well, I've ended up going up a piece. So it's by no means he's totally losing here at this point. I've still got to think about, okay, this pawn is going to fall in a minute. This rook is under attack, so I've still got some challenges in this position that I need to solve. So I thought about putting my rook onto b8 to maybe start hitting this pawn, but I didn't like the fact if the bishop captures, he's hitting my rook, he's defending this pawn. it just makes my life a little bit harder. I've then got these doubled isolated pawns that could potentially come target. So that 3 points advantage that I just gained is going to probably decimate. Go very, very quickly if I don't play very actively. But this is the other problem with this knight move here, and I guess this was the idea of my next move. So I now played rook to f4. So I'm now hitting this bishop, but also, if this pawn was to ever fall, let's say, then this knight then falls. So I'm basically created a mega fork here. If the rook captures, which also looks pretty good, I can still take here, and this is I've now got a winning attack along here. There's not a whole lot he can do if he tries to start taking this knight. This is just no good for white at all. I just take here maybe with my rook, king to d2. I can throw in checks, I guess. And this is just looking really, really good for black. So I was quite happy with this variation from there. So I played this. My opponent moved his knight back. He tried to realign it back to f3. I then happily took here. b3 was played, which I think is just to stop the immediate threat. And here I played the move rook to c8, and this just had a simple threat of capturing this pawn. Notice this pawn is pinned, so you can't capture back. He took on d6, obviously missing the tactic, and I then took here on b3. My opponent resigned at this point. There's very little he can do about trying to stop this mating attack now. In actual fact, the best move here for white, according to the engine, is having to move the king. So he just gives up everything here just to save the king. So pretty hopeless position. In actual fact, there's a declaration now saying mate in 12. So not particularly not good. So yeah, I was, as I say, very happy with this position. Just showing you, going back to some of the key bits here. I mean, obviously my opponent wasn't helped with this h4 move, but certainly, coming up with this b5, this b5, starting this quick attack, this nice combination, I was quite proud of. So very, very nice win. Thank you to my opponents. I think he's doing quite well as well. He's my biggest competition. So hopefully he can pull off the win in our other game. Our other game's a lot closer, so it's not like this fat little miniature that I have here. But in any case, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.